Mid. Mid. It's all mid. 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 But what does mid even mean?
The totally necessary history of this meme can trace its origins back to the Proto-Indo-European medio, meaning to measure. Pardon my pronunciation, I'm a few thousand years late to my ancient Eurasian language class. The word eventually morphed into the Germanic middle, and finally worked its way into the English merchant class, who used the word middling to refer to their average set of goods to set them apart from their best and worst offerings. Hello, good sir, can I offer you some of my wares? Wow, middling. What? Ratio L plus you fell off, bozo. What in the fuck are you talking about? In other words, it's an outdated term that fell off as trading sheep for chickens fell out of favor, until it saw a resurgence in the 1980s as the volume of pop culture began to explode. Middling began to appear more and more in art criticism. In fact, here's an article from 1999 in Variety calling Perfect Blue middling, which of course brings us to 2021 in the peak of anime Twitter. Like many communities, it borrows a lot from AAVE, or African American Vernacular English, but they in anime TikTok use it to pretty much define every anime ever made. If mid really just means middle of the road, we actually do have a way to check if an anime fits that term. Thanks to Herman Valdiviso, there is a wonderful open source dataset on every single MyAnimeList rating that has ever been made since the beginning of time up until 2020, a spreadsheet that is 3 gigabytes large. Yes, I know that MyAnimeList is biased, it's the best dataset we got, cut me some slack. If we take the average of every one of the 48,492 anime on the list, we'll see that the average is actually a 6.5. So case closed, right? A mid-anime is a 6.5. Well, not so fast. Wouldn't it make more sense if it was a 5? I mean, the middle of 1 through 10 is 5. Well, that's where the first bias comes in. Survivorship bias. For most people, if they watch an anime, that's probably evidence that there's something about it that appeals to them. So naturally, people are going to tend to score anime that they probably would have liked in the first place. So it's not necessarily that people are overrating anime, it's just that you're more likely to rate an anime that you like. And we can prove this by plotting the number of scores that an anime has alongside its average score. And we can see the more scores an anime has, the higher the rating tends to be. And indeed, while the average score of every anime ever made is a 6.5, the average score out of every score ever given is a 7.5. While that's the score over every score ever given per user, the average score is an 8. But if people are mostly watching shows they personally would describe as an 8, what is going on here? Now, I know what you're going to say. Everybody has a different rating system, right? And that's completely true, and I did think of it. So what I did is I adjusted each user's score based on the average difference of their scoring and the community scoring. So for example, if I rated Attack on Titan a 5, Overflow a 10, One Piece a 6, I would need to raise all of your scores by 1.1. When we do this, we find that we have to, on average, adjust scores by 0. But in reality, that's because most people had their scores changed by +1 or -1. Using this information, we can actually recalculate the scores of every anime. In fact, when we readjust each anime, the average score doesn't really change, it's now a 6.4. So while this is the distribution of adjusted scores based on what all users have watched, this, all the way over here, is the adjusted score across all anime. A 6.4. Using this new adjusted scoring, how often do people ever watch an anime at a 6.4 or below? Well, 5%. Only 5% of what the average user watches is at a 6.4 or below. And even that is driven by outliers. This spike here is the users who have never watched an average anime. That is 20% of all users. Despite these facts, people only have to search up the word mid on Twitter to find out that those aren't the anime that people are using the word on. But statistically speaking, the anime that you and all these people are watching are the best that the medium has to offer. When I posted on TikTok asking what anime are truly considered mid, people responded with some of the highest rated anime on the entire site. Simply put, the anime that people are calling mid are some of the best of the best. Now, if we put aside the obvious and assume people aren't just using the word mid to relentlessly troll everyone around them, it seems obvious that the word mid is used to declare an anime trash rather than average or middle of the road. You're not calling an anime a literal pile of untreated waste straight from the behind of No Face before he got in the bathhouse. You're saying it's average, nothing special, just kind of boring. This, my friends, is an example of the all too powerful rhetorical trick known as the Mott and Bailey, when you defend a position that is less objectionable than what you really mean. The Mott refers to the safe part of the castle, the part that's easy to defend. The bailey refers to the city where it's more comfortable, where you want to be, but is less defensible. Imagine I go to Twitter and post something like, "Lol, One Piece is mid, if you enjoy it, you're surface level, lol," followed by 15 emojis as you tend to do. You might rightfully reply, "Wait, One Piece has some great elements to it, from its world building to its characters, and honestly, its sales must be evidence that it's not just trash." The response is probably going to be a little more muted, like, "It was just boring to me, it's mid." While literally taking your favorite series and eviscerating it for the world to see typically requires a little bit more reasoning. Merely declaring something as mid requires none of that, letting you just send the tweet and call it a day. So why does this happen with anime? Is there just something about our medium that prevents people from having a rational thought? Does the fight scenes and fan service just reduce people's brains to mush? Not quite. While anime has had a healthy Western audience dating back to the 80s, I honestly went through high school without anyone outside of my anime club even knowing what Naruto was. And while nowadays everyone runs around with a Naruto shirt on, the medium just isn't mature enough for any serious level of criticism to take hold. Yes, while places like Anime News Network have in-house critics, it's not like they went to film or animation school. Most of them are just fans like you or me. So there really isn't an expectation of how people should approach analysis of the medium. Video essayists are definitely a good place to start, but people are apt to dismiss their opinion just as quickly as anyone else's. There isn't any sort of authority critic like film or literature where literal grant-funded professors engage in peer-reviewed discourse. Everyone is trying to figure out how to approach anime, and with no highbrow reviewers, it's open season on any series you found a little personally underwhelming. Yes, everything is subjective. Every truth in the universe requires some sort of assumed axiom. But we as a community are not doing a good job of differentiating opinion and critique. Clearly, some critique is more valid than others, but in this world, we're not really sure who's trying to explore the medium and who's just being a jackass. So for many, the assumption is to just assume everyone is being a jackass and asserting their opinion as fact. So they return in kind by just calling stuff they don't like mid. It can be easy to dismiss everything I've said up until this point as just thinking too deep, but the way in which the community abuses the word mid to categorically dismiss entire anime has a genuine chilling effect on the way in which we discuss the medium. There's nothing better that exemplifies this than a trend I see on Twitter happen quite often. It goes a little something like this: "Just started this anime, L or W." What I see here is that people have been led to believe that simply liking or even enjoying the wrong anime could be ostracizing in this hellscape we call the online anime community. They've been trained to expect any praise of a show that they enjoyed to be followed with a peanut gallery responding, "L ratio plus you fell off." But the worst part isn't that it's happening, it's that people have internalized it as normal. Saying you like One Piece is an explicit attack on Bleach. Saying that your favorite anime of the last season was Re:Zero is seen as saying Beastars isn't worthy of the mantle. The mere act of liking things has become a blood sport, and everyone wants to come out on top before it even begins. So they seek the approval of others, asking for permission for the very right to enjoy things. I think what I dislike the most about this is whenever you bring this up, people always respond with, "It's just a joke, don't take it too seriously." But that's the problem with this sort of post-irony nonsense. You can't tell the difference between something that's sincere or not. And so you have our lowly Twitter friends asking the all-important question of merely watching an anime is an L or W. It doesn't just hurt making the community more welcoming and breaking down the barriers to enjoying the hobby. It's bad because it makes it harder for people to explore their own tastes, broaden their horizons, and find something new that connects with them. So this video started as an exploration of the word mid, but honestly became a vent of my own frustrations with the way that the internet approaches anime criticism. I'm not asking everybody to become stuffy boomers penning 2-paragraph essays in the New York Times every time you want to review a harem comedy, but I can't help but feel as if the younger anime community that has come into the hobby in the past couple years faces a particularly steep obstacle in being able to express their own opinion. So it's probably a good idea that we nib this one in the bud as soon as we can. There we go, that's better. So keep giving Overflow a 10, Full Metal Alchemist a 3, so long as you can defend it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.